Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. We're back a lot sooner than I originally expected to pull some shards. The portal is alight, and we have a lot of special events going on right now. We talked about this in yesterday's video, the free-to-play review of the Hammer Titan event, but it has launched with the bonus summon rush already middle of the week here, and so as you can see, we have a decent amount of hammer points up for grabs, 25, 75, and 100 for a grand total of 200 points, and that is going to be our goal for the day. So up to 9 sacreds to guarantee ourselves getting that. But on top of it, there's also a POGO event for sacred shards. So a pull one, get one, or POGO as I like to call it, or a bonus legendary, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, there's also the chance to get some of the faction nudity champions. So in this case, obviously Teox would be the most desirable one because he's honestly busted and broken now in the good way relative to PvP. But honestly, I'm not that fussed about getting any one of these in particular. I'm more excited about the opportunity to go for the POGO event. And that is because of here our Mercy tracker. You can see it on the screen focusing on this section. We are indeed in Mercy as of the most recent shard pulling session. So we're 3 sacreds deep, and we're going to pull at the very least 9 sacreds to guarantee the maximum amount of Titan event points or hammer points, which means that we'll be up to around 24 sacreds deep into Mercy if we hit horrendous luck, but the odds are mostly in our favor to hit a legendary and thus proc the double legendary. Now I will preface this by saying that the only reason a POGO event is worth it is if you actually go all the way and make sure that you proc the POGO event. And so if you're kind of gambling more so, you're fresh off of Mercy and you're just trying to see, it's not the best investment just because the odds are not in your favor. But if you're tracking your Mercy like myself here and you know that you're in Mercy or at least very close to it, then it might be a little bit more optimal to go for it in this case. The Mercy system for sacreds is not that forgiving, and technically speaking or mathematically speaking, you could go all the way out to like in somewhere in the 50s of sacreds without getting a legendary, but 99-ish% of the time within like the first 30-ish sacreds, 35, you're probably going to proc the legendary. So it just depends on the odds. You can be good or bad in terms of RNG. While we're here in the portal, let's take a look at the overall shard count on my account. We have 763 on the Ancients, 262 on the Voids, 27 on the Primals, and 62 on the Sacreds, which of course we'll be dipping into today. Now in terms of who we're looking for, obviously I would take any of the faction unity champions, but like I said earlier, they're not really my primary focus. I still have my primary wish list of champions, that being Valkyrie at the top, in Poison Exploder number 2, Molly Tankard number 3, Lord Champfort number 4, and Elva Autumnboard number 5. That being said, considering that there is a triple 10x going on right now, the odds are fairly decent that we actually hit one of these featured champions. The chance to get any singular one of these champions is around 5%, but when you combine all of them together in terms of adding all of their cards into the pool, it's roughly equates to around a 15% chance to get any of the 3. Then when you also account for the fact that you're guaranteed to get 2 legendaries if you proc a legendary in the first place, that brings it up to somewhere just below 30% chance. So pretty decent odds that we're going to walk away with at least one of these champions, but nonetheless, I'd probably still prefer a champion for my primary wish list. Oh, hello. Before we get to the shard pools, let me tell you about today's sponsor, the subscribe button right there down below. According to the extensive research I've done on the internet, people with glasses as well as British accents tend to be perceived as much smarter, and thus people pay attention to them a lot more. So now that I've got your attention, believe it or not, over half of you who watch videos on this channel are not actually subscribed to it. So if you are actually enjoying the videos on this channel, then feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. Now let's get back to those shard pools, shall we? All right, let's get into the shard pools. We've got some space, we've got the cash, and hopefully we get some pretty decent luck. Although granted, the odds are fairly in our favor that we get a legendary. It's more about hoping that it happens within the first 9 sacreds. That way we don't have to go a little bit further. But nonetheless, if we do have to invest a bit further, it's not the end of the world. So first sacred here, Fodbor the Bard. Pretty decent faction wars champion, but also pretty useful in the Cursed City. He does have AoE decrease defense, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, but nonetheless he can be a debuffer for the dwarves. We have Mausoleum Mage, one of the old school seer activation champions with the triple buff ability here, crit rate, increased defense, and block debuffs. That's basically his old school usage, but nowadays he sees a lot less play, but he does nonetheless also have like a full cleanse or so. There we go, we procced the legendary, and the first one is, or the double legendary, the first one is Shamrock, who is new on my account, and the second one is Countess Lix, who is also new on my account. but not who we're looking for, not also getting anything from the 10x, but this was to be expected because we are in Mercy, so no worries on that. But we are still going to make sure that we go all the way out until we get to the 9 sacreds pulled. Let's take a quick look at these champions. So Shamrock is one of the most like annoying enemy wave champions, not the most, but one of the most annoying, just because of the A1 here, because he has a chance to remove buffs and he can also steal the buffs, so he might steal block debuffs from your team or something. It's just kind of annoying because you can't debuff him after that. But he's most known here for this ability where he has increased defense and increased speed if you're high HP, and then if you're low HP, he has revive on death and continuous heal. So again, when he's an enemy combatant, he's extremely annoying because if you don't have enough damage and they're kind of low health on a 4-turn cooldown when he's an enemy, but 3-turn cooldown when booked, they just pop back up with revive on death, and it's very, very annoying, specifically in like Doom Tower and the Cursed City. Then he also has this cool ability here that's AoE decreased defense that is non-contact, so it is affinity friendly, and it can also fill the turn meter of allies. And then legendary number 2 is Countess Lix, who honestly I've always thought was cool, but she's not really like super meta or anything nowadays. But I do have Astralon, so now I guess I have the super combo of Astralon and Countess Lix. But on the A1, attacks my enemy 2 times, just has a chance to place a weaken, nothing too amazing there. But this one is a really cool ability, AoE 3-time hitter that has a chance to place decreased speed and also decrease the enemy's turn meter by 10% per hit. So a decent amount of turn meter control on top of also placing decreased speed. But I think her bread and butter ability here is the AoE block active skills on a 5-turn cooldown, and then it also decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn except for this champion. So it's a fairly long cooldown admittedly, but once again for me, in thinking in terms of endgame, Cursed City, having attack based champions with some form of CC is super powerful. So even though I'm probably going to run her unbooked, just having block active skills and some of those attacks only Cursed City stages, she's probably going to come in handy for that. If I happen to be able to run the tandem together, then I activate this passive here where they can remove 1 random debuff from her and Astralon at the start of their turn, only if Astralon is available, of course. And then she has her own personal passive here that will fill her turn meter every time an ally receives a debuff. So she has a chance to kind of go a little bit faster and cut in if the enemy waves are getting turns on you. So is that who we were looking for? Most certainly not, but we will take anything we can get. Like I did say, they're both new on my account, so we can take a look at that in the index a little bit later, but we still have 6 more sacreds to go, so let's get cracking. So 6 more to go. Basically, nothing else needs to happen here. Maybe we'll get some pretty decent epics along the way. We do want some more duplicate epics for empowerment. Romero fairly recently got a buff, but I don't think he's really that amazing. But he does have increased defense, big version, and then continuous heals, and he can also steal some buffs. But I already have him, and I don't intend to use him anywhere in the game. We have Broodlord. I'm actually a decent fan of Broodlord because he does have an AoE stun on the A3. So when it comes to Cursed City, he can be very useful in certain rooms, but also a provoke on the A1. But most specifically, I use him for this passive in the Iron Twins. He's my decreased speed champion because whenever this champion or allies under ally protection are attacked, he has a pretty solid chance of placing decreased speed, and that accounts for all ally protection on all allies. So basically, if he gets hit, he's going to place decreased speed on the Iron Twins, which means that even when he does his cleanse ability and he fires off that attack, as long as we have a bunch of ally protection on the team, which in my case is provided by Jareg, he essentially puts himself immediately back under decreased speed, and thus we don't have to worry about his turn meter filling passive. 4 sacreds to go, so let's keep it going. Probably, most likely, another epic, no big deal. And we have Cage Breaker, who honestly, I don't know what he does, and that tells you everything you need to know about him and probably how useless he is. Next sacred we have is Theresk, another fairly useless champion. She is one of the few that does have the decreased resistance debuff, but that is the most useless debuff in the game, as I've said many times, just because you need accuracy to land it, which means that if you don't land it, then none of your team is going to work, and so that's just a bad type of investment. It's good if it can't be resisted, but otherwise it's pretty useless. However, she is going to be used to empower my Rian the Conjurer, if I'm not mistaken. A couple more sacreds to go. We have a Seeker, who honestly I've never built on my account, but he is he's nonetheless very popular for like Demon Lord Clan Boss, getting your teams to a 2-1 speed ratio. And then obviously his passive is can be quite annoying, spreading increased defense. So he's a really solid arena champion on top of also being a really solid Clan Boss champion. But also notably, he also has a relatively high chance to provoke on the A1, 75% chance across both of the hits. And then the final sacred, here we go, should be another epic. and no surprises there. And it is Hotatsu, pretty decent support champion for the Shadowkin. AoE decreased attack, granted not 100% chance, but sometimes that's all you need. And then increased defense and continuous heal, so pretty decent healer. I ended up not using him, but I initially had him in like Faction Wars teams, but he fell out of that team very, very quickly, but a leech on the A1 as well. So let's hop over to the Summon Rush. Make sure that I did my math correctly, and we should be all the way out, yes, at 4,500, so we can collect all of the hammer points. Honestly, what I might do on a separate occasion, or I guess later on tonight, we don't have that much time left, but I'm probably just going to pull like 500 mystery shards just to crank through and get myself a legendary tome. Why not? Just to work on that. But sacreds, we don't really need to invest more. We got what we needed. We triggered the Pogo early enough, and so that was kind of the lowest amount that we could have done, but we knew that we were going to go all the way out there to 9. So 500 mystery shards to kind of round things out, and then we get all the rewards. It's also nice that I did finish the Thor fusion, but we also get to bank 25 extra fragments for Diana Doompiercer, which means that I get a little bit more progress towards High Mother Mod, who, if anyone was curious, I am basically never going to get here. I haven't really talked about this much on the channel, but as an avid fusion enjoyer, I basically never miss fusions, and so thus I don't have many extra fragments to sacrifice for her. So she's been sitting at 18 for ever since she came out. So I have no intention of ever really getting her unless I miss a fusion somehow, but I don't typically do that because I always do fusions. So I don't know. We'll just see, but it'll be nice to get maybe closer to 20 fragments towards her. And I don't know, maybe 3 more years she'll actually pop out one of these days. But go away, pop-ups. Okay. Index here, we can take a look at our brand new legendary. So legendary new number 1 is the Shamrock, and then legendary new number 2 is the Countess Lick. So we'll take it. A little more collection for the Pokedex, so to speak. But yeah, we talked about at least Countess Licks would probably see some play in the Cursed City. Shamrock, as of right now, I have no intention of using him, but he's banked for anything in the future that he might come in handy for. So there you have it. That's going to do it for my pulls for the super summoning session with the bonus summon rush for the Titan event, featuring the triple 10x, featuring the Pogo event. A lot of craziness. We triggered the Pogo, so we did walk away with our 2 legendaries, but we did not get any of the feature ones in the 10x, which is a bit of a bummer, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Let me know in the comment section down below if you were also participating in the Pogo event Super Summon Rush Bonanza, and of course let me know what you were able to get from your summons. Hopefully you trigger the Pogo event as well. As always, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to also subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.